Welcome back to Inside the Paddock. We had an action-packed weekend in Austria last race. Lots of racing, lots of penalties, and we got Silverstone this weekend, so we got a lot to talk about. Here we go. Back to Inside the Paddock. This is episode number 12. Before we get into it, we want to give our thoughts and prayers to the family of Delano Van Tahoft. Tragic accident at Spa. Yeah, it's a real shame. So yeah, and then. But yeah, Austrian Grand Prix, it was a dominant weekend for Max Verstappen, and then in the race, followed by Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez to round out the podium. Tim, you want to take us through the rest of the grid finishers?
Yeah, so the Austrian Grand Prix, of course, the grid, whenever the race at first ended, was not how the grid looked following that, because of all the track limit penalties. But of course we had Max in P1, and then we had Leclerc in P2, and then Perez in P3. But then Norris was in P4, he finished in P5, but then he got bumped up due to track limits because the gap between him and the cars in front of him the car in front of him was not too far. And then we had Alonso in P5, followed by his teammate Sainz. And then we had the two Mercedes following behind him, Russell and Hamilton, and then Stroll and Gasly rounding out the podium. We had Nico Hülkenberg. He was the only DNF, which was unfortunate after his solid qualifying performance. But yeah, if any of y'all want to get back into it, we can.
I quite like that race, to be honest. The whole weekend was good. I particularly enjoy the sprint. I know I wasn't a big fan of the sprint, and I'm not one in the present right now as well. But all in all, I thought it was a really solid weekend. Even on Sunday, there was still a lot of action. We already knew Max was going to win, but with that being said, the Ferraris gave him quite a challenge. He had to overtake for the lead. I think it's about as good as you can ask for in Formula One right now. So, yeah, it was solid. It's rating it from 1 to 10, maybe a 7.5, 8, just considering the whole weekend and the context of Austria. Yeah, it was pretty enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty enjoyable. It was pretty enjoyable for me as well. But something I sort of was thinking about earlier was the fact that Max is winning. And we got our boy Greg here watching the podcast this week, and he was talking about how boring this season is. And to new fans, I can see how that's the case, because you're looking at, who's winning the races, and you're not really getting too deep into it, and you're not diving into it as we are. And so I think that that's just something that needs to be taken into account, is that if you're a new fan, it's maybe not quite as exciting as you'd think. But as Kenji has mentioned before, look into the deeper aspects of it, like the penalties. And, that was pretty exciting for me after the race, even though, it didn't affect who was winning or even who was on the podium. But it's just the little things in F1 that make it interesting, like Lando getting a couple more points in the championship. Although for you and me, Kenji, in our little championship, that was unfortunate. Lost us five points. But anyway, yeah, I think that I just wanted to take note of that. But it was a pretty enjoyable weekend overall, I think.
Yeah, and I will say this, Formula One is a sport that's dominant, that goes through periods of domination. We saw it with Mercedes during the turbo hybrid era, Schumacher for 4 or 5 years. He was kind of on the scale that Max was. And to some degree, I would argue that every sport has these kind of periods. In basketball, you have the Warriors just winning everything for a couple of years. And even in like baseball, which is kind of like a unpredictable sport, you have a couple of teams who you know are good, who you know are going to make it to the World Series every year. So yes, F1, if you're just looking at who's going to be winning the race every weekend, yes, it can be disappointing. But like Tim mentioned, you have to look at the midfield battle, at the battle between Aston, Mercedes, and Ferrari. Can Ferrari come back? It's a very intriguing sport if you don't just focus on who's winning every weekend. And I think that's kind of what you have to do if you're watching F1 at the moment.
Yeah, I especially enjoyed the sprint race. I thought that was a lot, very enjoyable, however many, like 20-some laps. The start, I mean, as a McLaren and a Norris fan, it was a little unfortunate. But even despite that, it was still a lot of fun to watch. The Red Bulls, after they kind of did their weird thing at turn 3, they flew off way ahead of everyone else, except I think Hulkenberg got in the mix for a little while, and then he dropped back. It was a really good, about as good as a sprint race possibly could be, I think. And you saw great fights down the field. You had the Albon, Ocon, Norris, Leclerc going at it. I thought it was a really, really good sprint, and then the actual race was still pretty solid. So it was a good weekend all around.
Do we think that the sprint, like how good it was that more down to like the sprint being what it is or the weather? Because for me at least, I felt like the sprint was good, but only because of the weather. I think if it was dry, it would have been more, I don't want to say boring, but it would have been more, been less intriguing, let's put it that way. What do you guys think?
I think that boring is an okay word for that. Like, we've seen weekends where the sprint, it happens, and it's just like, man, I could have gone through a weekend and just done the normal 3 practice qualifying in a race. So I think that this weekend it was especially intriguing. So I agree with you on that, Kenji. I think that the little aspects, like we were just saying, that can play such a big part in how enjoyable a race weekend is.
Yeah, I mean, most of the great races have an element like that, so you're gonna need a variable thrown into the mix, and that's what happened with the rain. And then do you pit for dries? Do you stay out on the intermediates? That's what made it really interesting. But we're just gonna go through a little rundown right here. For the Red Bulls, dominant weekend for Verstappen. He had to overtake some of the Ferraris. He finally didn't lead. I think he lost his consecutive laps led thing that went all the way back to I don't even know. Miami, I think. Yeah, Miami.
Yeah.
But pretty easily overtook Sainz and Leclerc. As for Perez, he showed some pretty good pace in the sprint race. He finally got a good result in qualifying, and then did a great job in the actual race to come back through to get a podium. So hopefully, for his sake, that this is kind of a turnaround in his season. Y'all got any thoughts on Red Bull as a team this weekend?
Continued their dominance.
No. Yeah. We say basically the same thing every weekend at this point. The championship's wrapped up.
Yeah, I saw this one.
Verstappen. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw this one post on Instagram. This was June 27th, so this wasn't too recent, but I saved it because it was the laps led stat, and it had Red Bull at 471, and then Mercedes at 11, Aston Martin at 3, and Ferrari at 2. It's just nothing new this Austrian Grand Prix either. It's just continued dominance.
If Max Verstappen was a team, he would be leading the Constructors' Championship right now by 2 race victories. I think that just speaks how just incredible he's been this season. I wasn't alive, obviously, when Michael Schumacher was winning, and as most of us weren't. But yeah, it kind of feels like we're living through that kind of period again, where he's just utterly dominant. What I'm excited to see is whether he can break some of those records that Vettel has, that Seb has, of like 9 race victories in a row. Even the outside probability that Red Bull wins every single race this season. Me being a Red Bull fan, I'm kind of excited to see if we can do that. But I just hope eventually some of the teams start catching up. And I think with Red Bull taking that penalty from the wind tunnels and everything like that, I think that's a plausible possibility as we go further into the season. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Red Bull. With regards to like Perez, I think once he sorts out the qualifying, he'll be good. Because during the race, he had some strong pace. He went from 15th to 3rd. Yes, it's the Red Bull. Yes, he should not be starting down in 15th. But if he can just sort out the qualifying sessions, I think he'll be good. It's a big if at the moment, but I'm confident that he can do it. And I don't think Red Bull has anyone better than Perez to put into that second seat, because in that second seat you kind of need a Bottas character, in my opinion. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Red Bull.
Yeah. Moving on to Ferrari, in the main race, they got a P2 with Charles Leclerc and then a P6 after penalties with Carlos Sainz. Ferraris, they've looked pretty good the last 2 races, and this could be a sign that they are improving, or maybe just making better decisions with the strategy. What do y'all think about it not really just being a track specific thing to Canada, and them potentially making a push towards those top the second and third place teams?
I think that obviously last weekend with Canada, the story was that they made a excellent strategy decision, different than any of the other teams, and that sort of propelled them ahead. And then this weekend this Austria weekend, we talked about how they've always been pretty good in Austria. Like Charles has had a win recently. But for them to put together 2 good weekends in a row, it's sort of making me a little optimistic about it, because Ferrari doesn't do that. But then there have been 2 pretty strong reasons as to why that would be the case. So I want to give them one more weekend to see if they're really up to the challenge of fighting those 2 Aston Martin and Mercedes teams.
I think it's promising that Ferrari, they're not screwing things up as bad as they have before, but I think we have to consider the whole picture here. In Canada, yes, they had a good strategy, but they were still P5 and P6. They were still behind Aston. They were still behind Mercedes. And in Austria, Aston Martin had a horrible strategy. We'll get onto them later, but they kind of took themselves out of the fight, in my opinion. They're bringing upgrades too. They're figuring out stuff with the sprint weekend. So Aston Martin, not to make an excuse for them, but I feel like it wasn't necessarily the most optimal conditions for them to do well this weekend. And obviously with Mercedes, we'll get on to them later as well, but their car was kind of bad and everything. So I'm just worried that if Mercedes and Aston Martin are at their, peak strength, will Ferrari be able to challenge them? Will Ferrari be able to sustain that kind of pressure? Will they still be making the right decisions? And if history is any indication, they won't be able to. We saw that the last couple of years, even earlier this season as well. So yeah, I'm just looking to see if they're under pressure, if the other teams are as strong as they can be, will Ferrari be able to keep up with that? I think Britain will be a good, test of them, whether they can hold up or not. But yeah, I think it's promising, but I'm still skeptical because it's Ferrari.
Yeah. I think they had a pretty solid first 2 practice sessions this morning, so we'll see how they can perform at Silverstone. Obviously, they were good at this track last year at Silverstone. Moving on to a team that we have not spoken about this early in any episode. It's the McLaren team. Upgrades on Norris's car only at Austria, and he was excellent. Sprint race qualified 3rd, I believe. Real race qualified 4th. Sprint race got kind of caught out by the 2 Red Bulls. Almost had to come to a complete stop on the track, and then didn't pit for dry tires, which ended up kind of costing him any points in that race, but ended up getting 4th in the race in the Grand Prix on Sunday. Do y'all think this was a one-off track-specific thing, or do we think McLaren has some serious pace with these new upgrades?
I think it's a bit early to tell, to be honest, because it's only one race. It's like using one data point to make a conclusion. I think this weekend will be really telling. And from the first 2 practice sessions, Lando didn't really seem to be that close. Let's see, I think he was like 15th in FP1 or something. I don't remember, but yeah, he was pretty far off the pace.
For Silverstone?
Mm-hmm.
I think they were both in the top 10 in FP1. I don't think Lando's...
Oh, really?
Lando wasn't in the top 10 in the second one, but Piastri was.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. So
let me check here.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was 14th in FP2.
Yeah, they were 8 and 10 in P1 or FP1.
Yeah, and we have to remember that in FP1, Mercedes just ran medium tires, which is kind of 2 cars that weren't as high up. But I don't know. We'll have to see this weekend if they can keep it up. My early thought is that it's too early to tell right now. But as the weekend goes on, we'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think that's sort of the case with practice all the time. I mean, the Williams both got in the top 5 in FP2. So obviously Sargent's not gonna put together a P5 performance.
I don't know. Definitely encouraging from the McLaren team, though. Fight with Hamilton was pretty good. Yeah, Norris just had a very strong weekend. We'll see. I don't know if it's. I don't think they're going to be able to contend with Aston Martin or Mercedes or Ferrari like they did this weekend with Norris, but I think they might get to the level of Alpine to where they could potentially make a comeback in that race and make that an interesting battle for 5th, I guess, in the Constructors. Moving down the order still, we got Aston Martin, P5 for Alonso, 9th for Lance Stroll. Kenji, you mentioned their bad strategy. Do you want to take us through that?
I would say it was kind of more of, I guess, bad fortune with the strategy because they pitted under the VSC and then the virtual safety car kind of like ended while they were in the pits, so they didn't really get the same effects as they would have if it had lasted the whole time they're in the pits. Even with that, though, it was kind of a weird strategy. Like Stroll, I think he pitted like 3 times, so that was really weird. That's why he was kind of down in P9. I think he went from like P6 to P9. I think he qualified P6. So, yeah, going backwards to the 4th, never a good thing. But, yeah, I just thought it was a bad strategy this weekend. I thought they had the pace, really, to be kind of up there, and to see them down as far as they were, kind of disappointing, to be honest. But I think I read something there where Aston Martin were the ones challenging like the final results with the track limits and everything like that. I think none of their drivers had any track limits violations. Is that correct?
You mean Aston Martin?
Yeah, Aston Martin,
Yeah.
huh?
I didn't see anything about that, but I mean, yeah.
Because I think they were the ones who watched the protest, and then it said something like they had to make sure all of their drivers were violation free before they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of smart.
Yeah.
I know
I thought that was interesting.
McLaren didn't have any penalties either.
Huh?
Neither McLaren had any penalties either.
Yeah.
So, good job.
Ocon definitely was the champion of like track limits, though. 30 seconds, 30-second post race penalty, just
Why is
incredible.
that even
Kidding.
necessary? I don't know. All right. Anything else on Aston, or we can move on to the mopey Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton. Lots of complaining from Lewis. It had been a while since we'd heard him.
Yeah.
So being a baby in the car, so it's kind of a funny.
Well,
throwback.
not only him, but when you saw Toto say like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, Lewis, this car just sucks." Like, that's not good. Like, when it's the team principal saying it, not just Lewis, who's infamous for saying it, then you know it's bad.
I don't know. The way he said it, he sounded more like he just wanted Lewis to shut the hell up, and he was like,
I felt like it was more
Lewis,
like
the
the
car is
Gunther
bad, we
Steiner
know.
thing. Yeah.
It's still funny though.
Lewis, the car is bad, we know, just drive it.
I felt like it was more like the Gunther Steiner thing from a couple of years ago, where like I think he told Grosjean to like shut up one time in one of the U.S. races. But I mean, Toto's always had these kind of like funny moments where it's like, remember Abu Dhabi from 2021, that infamous no Mikey, no message. But yeah, this was kind of a funny moment as well. I think the main thing I'm going to remember from this race is just the radio messages from Mercedes.
Yeah.
Because,
funny.
yes, Hamilton complains, but saying this car is slow, mate, blah, blah, blah. I can't freaking turn the car. It's kind of funny, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, it was a bad weekend for Mercedes. I'm not sure if it's like a setup thing or if it's performance-wise their thing. Because we have to remember their upgrades, it's still a bit inconsistent. And they performed well where they performed well in the past. So with that in mind, do you guys think their pace is kind of like a circuit-specific thing or just like a general trend, I guess, of their car?
I guess, I mean, it's always kind of, it's not absolutely indicative based on like how teams will perform based on prior years with all the changes and stuff, but there definitely is something to be said about teams that are reliably good at the same track, and Mercedes have been reliably subpar, I guess, to their standards at the Red Bull Ring. And I guess, I mean, like, Mercedes is easily a top 4 team. They both got within 8th place. So, I mean, it's not like insanely, it's not like a huge shocker, but they did about as bad as they can accept. Like, the only top 4 driver they beat was Stroll. So, I mean, it's nothing to write home about. And then they got completely, I mean, Norris was way faster than both of them. So they definitely need to figure something out, I think. But, and I think I mean, Silverstone, obviously, both drivers' home race. They'll definitely want to be on the top of their game this weekend. So we'll see what they bring. I think they have some upgrade this weekend that was like front wing or something like that. So.
Yeah. I guess moving down, we got the Alpine, Gasly with 1 point, and then Ocon, as we said, with the massive penalty. I mean, he still was in like he was still in P12 before he got the penalty, but it just bumped him down to P14 anyway, which is unfortunate. But I don't know, it just wasn't their weekend. Nothing special happening. At least they got a point.
Yeah, it's like Alcon was driving on like a whole different track layout or something. How many penalties he racked up. But yeah, it wasn't a very strong weekend from Alpine. I know we kind of touched on this with the McLaren segment, but I was just kind of shocked at how big the difference was, considering how bad McLaren has been, just to see them taking P4 with Lando and Alpine being stuck down in P10. Yeah, it was quite a surprise for me, to be honest. So I think it was a big disappointment this weekend. I'm going to be looking to see how they bounce back in Silverstone, especially if the upgrade's now coming for Piastri as well. I think Alpine need a strong weekend in Britain, and yeah, I wonder if they get it.
Yeah. And then the 4 kind of back marker teams. Williams had a pretty solid weekend. Albon just outside the points. Sargent with a good result. And they look to have really good pace at Silverstone. I would not be surprised if they get at least a driver into Q3 with Albon and maybe bring home some points. I think Albon got points in the sprint too. So
I think he pitted for slicks and then he lost on the points.
Did he?
He was like P10 or something.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
He was doing pretty good.
He was pretty close though. Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah. So, and I like the Williams livery. Looks pretty good for this weekend. Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
Go ahead if you want to talk about the.
Yes, I guess like speaking of Williams, they usually do well on like these tracks with a bunch of like high speed corners. We saw like kind of like in Spain, they're pretty good. Canada, yeah, has some slow speed corners, kind of like street circuit, but has a straight, 2 big straights. Yeah, they were good as well. Austria, it's a bunch of high speed corners. A bit disappointed they didn't get points, but to be honest, I think it was just more of the cards not falling their way than the pace of their drivers, the pace of their package not being there. Silverstone's kind of like the same thing. I think it's a bunch of high-speed corners, Maggots and Beckett's cops, bunch of straights as well. So I think they definitely have a good shot here in Silverstone, especially with the pace that they've been showing. If they can carry that into the qualifying and into the race, it'll be a very good weekend for Williams. Yeah, that's all I have to say about them.
Yeah.
Not much for Alfa Romeo. AlphaTauri, they're the worst team, I think.
Yeah.
Sonoda's been really good. I think that's
not this weekend.
Well, not this weekend, but
they're bringing a bunch of like weekend or upgrades.
Yeah.
I think they had like
is it a
8
new
upgrades. It's like crazy.
New second driver? Is that what it is? Is that the upgrade?
Oh, like the.
All right.
Speaking of AlphaTauri, I don't know if y'all saw something about this, but apparently they're like doing a full rebrand.
No more.
It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
this has happened before, but no AlphaTauri, new sponsor. I mean, I have no idea
I heard
who
it's
it
not
is.
going to be Toro Rosso.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's going to be like a new thing, which is, I mean, I like the rebrands, even if it doesn't mean much.
I'm calling it Red Bull Sugar Free would be pretty funny.
Red Bull Sugar Free.
All right.
I kind of like the AlphaTauri livery though from 2020, I think, where it was like white and blue or dark blue. This one's bad, bro. Yeah. It's not it.
I like the 2020 and last year's were both white. Their logo's pretty cool too. So.
Yeah.
I have a list of the upgrades they have. So they're upgrading the floor body, the floor fences, the floor edge, the diffuser, the engine cover, the rear suspension, the rear wing, and the beam wing.
A new car.
Those are the upgrades they're bringing. Yeah, exactly. It's like they're bringing a whole new car for this weekend.
Maybe they're just bringing everything that Red Bull threw out.
Yeah.
New Red Bull.
I think when they rebrand, I think France Toss said they're going to be looking to copy everything they can from Red Bull within the regulations.
Oh, cool.
Just Yeah. So I don't know if that's going to make them a good team again, but yeah, I don't know. Just have to see, I guess.
All right. Haas. Whatever. Oh well, Magnussen was really good in the sprint. He came back to get points, right? Didn't he? I think so. I think he got 6.
I think he did.
He was good at qualifying and then the sprint. So good job, Magnussen. All right.
It's always just the race pace that like kills them.
Yeah.
They're so bad in the race. In the qualifying, like over one lap, they're pretty good.
Or Hulkenberg, excuse me, not Magnussen. All right, Tim, how do we do on the predictions?
Well, Charlie won again, of course. I mean, he would have won without the penalties.
Would I?
Yeah, because you had
by 1 point. By 1 point you would have won.
Well,
but I think you're winning by like 6 now.
Well, so he got P1, 2, and 5, right? Me and Kenji got P1 only. We would have gotten P5 with Lando until Sainz got.
Oh, I didn't even see. I got second too. Huh?
Yeah. You picked Leclerc.
Yeah, Leclerc.
If Sainz had not gotten track penalties, then it wouldn't have been too much. But now it's Charlie with 26, Kenji with 12, and then me with 8. It's just like,
boys, crown me the champion.
It's disappointing, but I'm not worried about it because we had the right ideas.
Just takes the
we had the right ideas, guys, so I'm not worried about it. We had Lando doing well. Charlie didn't even think Lando would do good. He got 4th. And then Charlie last week was like, oh, Lando, I don't think I'd be surprised if he gets into the top 5. He got 4th, Charlie. Okay.
I was very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I foresaw this happening. I knew that.
No, you didn't.
I definitely knew. I mean, look, I've driven the F1 game. I know that last high-speed corner, with the pit entry, if I don't crash into someone coming into the pits, I'm gonna go off the circuit. It happens.
You're like the LeBron meme.
Okay, so what happened with Sainz then? Didn't you pick Sainz for 4, and then he got 6?
It's like
I did. We sacrificed.
It's like
for.
Oh my! So why didn't you foresee him making mistakes at turn 10 then? What happened there, Charlie? I thought you were predicting it.
Well, don't you get more points for 5th place?
Yeah, you get more for 5th.
Oh, so I wanted Alonso to get in there.
Yeah.
Instead of Sainz.
Yeah. Alonso was so bad though. He wasn't even that good.
Lucky.
Yeah, it's all good though. I mean,
all right.
I'm just optimistic because we had the right ideas.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think that's the positive we have to take away.
Yeah.
That's kind of the cards didn't really fall our way. But yeah, I'm excited because we know what we're talking about. Charlie just got lucky.
Mm-hmm. Well, the British Grand Prix is underway. We will be doing our first watch party. It'll be us 3. It'll be Greg. You heard him on one episode. We'll try and release some content from that event. Weekend's already underway. We mentioned Williams having some pace. Ferrari looked pretty good. I don't know. I think we can just get into predictions. Yeah, it should be a fun race. Silverstone last year was probably the best race of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
What happened to Leclerc? His engine blew up or something. He didn't come out for FP2. And then watch him get a 15-place grid penalty. Doesn't start the race. It always happens.
Change components again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can start us off on predictions.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead, Tim.
P1, I got Brad Pitt.
Oh,
you know he's out there. That's sweet. He's driving the car. There's some.
Gonna wreck Verstappen.
I know. He's just gonna crash into everyone. Be the only finisher. I've got him for P1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Rich energy is back
for real. But nah. In all joking, I've got Max P1. It's boring, but I got Max P1.
I'm shocked.
I'm gonna give Lewis P2 in his home Grand Prix. Then I'll give Alonso P3. Solid. Hopefully, whether or not the car is good, maybe he can put one together. I'll give Russell P4. I'd say that they have a pretty solid weekend. And then I will give Carlos Sainz P5 in the Ferrari. So Max, Lewis, Fernando, Russell, Sainz.
Where's Checo for you? What do you think he's going to finish
Oh,
in?
shoot. I completely forgot about him. Never mind.
Oh, you can't change it no more.
Okay. Checo. Okay, sure.
Oh my goodness.
I completely forgot about that. I'm like,
Sneaky points finish.
all right, okay, sure. I'll leave Checo out of it. But if it
That's
comes back to bite
bold.
y'all. No, wait, okay.
You could just say he's going to qualify 20th. His engine glitches out or something and bugs out.
I think
And on the race,
I
he
think
just,
he's gonna have a good weekend though.
yeah, I'm against my prediction. So you want to go next
Dang,
or?
okay.
All right, I'll go. I'm gonna go with. You know what? I'm gonna say that Perez wins this race. You know, I'm in the lead because I called that back in Azerbaijan, and I don't know. Max last year got unlucky around this track. The year before, we all know what happened. Went to the hospital.
The L hospital.
The L'Hopital. You know, I'm gonna say that Perez, you know, maybe wins his last race of the season. I don't know.
This is not his last race of the season.
Wins, like gets his last win.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like he's gonna randomly. I'm gonna go with it.
I think he'll win the race. No?
I feel like it's a track that always has some decent racing. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with Perez, and then I'll go with Max in second. Third place I will give to Leclerc. Fourth place I will go with Alonso, and fifth place I will go with Norris. I believe now in Lando. I believe. Mercedes, I don't know. I would love to see Lewis get up there just because how hyped the crowd gets. But yeah, those are my top five. I'm gonna lose out on like 3 points if the Red Bulls are switched around. I don't know.
Who were 4 and 5 for you?
Alonso and Norris.
Okay. Kenji.
So for me, I'm taking Max P1. I don't think Charlie might be on something with Max struggling here in Britain, but given the context, there's nothing stopping him short of an engine failure or a crash. I think if Perez does win, Max will not be P2. I think he'll be either retired or further down the field, we'll put it that way. So Max P1, Checo P2, because I think if he sorts out the qualifying this weekend, which I think he can do, based on like his early pace and everything like that, his momentum is pretty strong. It's going on an upward trend. So if he sorts out the qualifying, I think he'll be strong in the race as well. With the Red Bull as strong as it is, I think he'll be P2. P3 is kind of hard because the Mercedes, I thought they would be strong here in Britain given the past couple of years, the track record here. But, you know, the practice is kind of giving me a few questions. So Ferrari do look strong. I'll put it that way. So I think Sainz P3. Leclerc, I'm worried because of everything that's going on reliability-wise. Will he start P20? Will his engine blow up in the race? And to be fair, that could happen with Sainz as well. Maybe his pit stop goes wrong or something. But he does look strong this weekend, and I'm just worried taking Leclerc given the reliability concerns, like I said. P4, I think Hamilton. I know Mercedes looks weak, but Hamilton does well in England, and I'm picking him for 4. P5, Alonso, because Aston Martin, by this time, they've had a lot of time to figure out their upgrades. Alonso's pretty good in Silverstone, I think. pretty experienced. So I don't think McLaren are going to be as strong as they were last weekend. I think last weekend was kind of like a one-off thing. I know I said it's too early to tell, but I'm leaning more towards the fact that it's track specific to Austria than really indicative of anything. Yeah, so those are my top 5.
Cool.
All right, Kenji, you prepared some games for us to compete in.
Hold on, Charlie, you
Time
forgot
around.
the points finishers, the sneaky points finishers.
Oh shoot, my bad. All right.
Yeah, you're good. Tim, you want to go first?
Yeah, you go.
I'm gonna do it. Logan Sargent.
Hey,
Bold.
that's not bad given how strong Williams is. But if you're gonna pick Sargent, why don't you just pick Albin, bruh?
America.
I think Albin is a better like risk reward ratio than Sargent. Sargent's like kind of
so much better.
Why would you do that? This is why you're last, Tim, because
Oh,
your
shut up.
picks are so bad.
Hey, watch this weekend. I'm going to go off. Sainz is gonna get P5. It doesn't even matter. I'm making a comeback, but I'm just gonna go Logan Sargent because I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
I think that's a good pick. That's fair.
no one's gotten points in this in a couple weeks.
Tim just likes people that are in last, like him, in the standings.
Give it a couple weeks. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I'll go with.
How about you, Charlie?
I'll go with Sonoda. I don't know. Kenji told us they brought
Why?
a whole new car, so.
And they were kind of bad, and like, well, what were they in the practice sessions? He was 18th. De Vries was 19th.
So
Yeah, they could figure out some things over the car, but that's not a good sign, Charlie. And you're at risk this weekend.
I don't know.
Ooh.
I mean, Sargent was P5.
I'll give y'all some charity work. You can take Albon.
Are you
Yeah,
gonna pick one?
Yeah, I am. I think he's the best risk reward wise for points. I know I picked him the last race as well. He was 11th. Unfortunate, but I think it shows I'm on the right track. And yeah, if I wasn't allowed to pick Albin, I think I would pick either Piastri or like Tim said, Sargent. I don't think Sargent's a bad pick at all. Piastri just because McLaren is upgrading his car. Norris looked strong last weekend. If Alpine screw up again, I think Piastri could be up there. Sargent, kind of the same thing. If cars fall his way, he could get into the points. But I still think Albin's the better of the two, which is why I'm picking him. Yeah.
All right, you ready to be the host of the game show?
Yeah, should I go through an overview of the games just to remind everyone
Sure.
what we're doing? All right, so our first game today is the higher-lower game. So we kind of tried this 2 weeks ago, and it's been very fun, so we're going to do it again. So it's basically a segment where I pick a topic, or one of us picks a topic for the session, and I ask questions based off of that topic. So I will pick 2 drivers, and whoever has more, I guess you just tell me, okay? So today, you guys want to do best of 5 or best of 4? Does it matter? Probably not.
Let's just do 4,
Yeah, but-
so we got another one.
All right.
Yeah.
And if it's tied, we'll just do more rounds. I have a lot.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What is the category?
Fastest laps. All right, so yeah, it's fastest laps.
Wow.
It's a bit. I think it's going to be harder to predict, so it'll be more fun.
Yeah.
Because fastest laps sometimes they go just randomly.
Yeah. This is not just current, right? This is like drivers. who
It's
already
pretty
retired.
current. Like some of them are retired, but they're drivers like Raikkonen, Hakkinen, Alonso,
They haven't
Massa, Ricardo.
done it all that.
Huh?
Or they haven't kept it as a stat all that long, right?
No, they have. It's just like they only started giving points out in
Oh,
2019,
okay,
I think, or something. Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty modern, but the ones I do pick, you should know them. So,
All right.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Let's go.
all right, the first question: Lando Norris or Carlos Sainz? Who has more fastest laps?
This is actually kind of hard.
It's just kind of random.
Like-
I don't know.
Like, neither
Norris
of them
probably got it in Russia after he
Yeah.
fumbled it.
Neither of them have probably gotten too many. It's random because all you really have to do is pit for softs
Yeah.
and be the fastest person doing that in a race. Like
It
I
could
know-
be like 19
yeah.
a minute off. Just pit for softs.
Like I know
Norris
Bottas has like a ton just because that's what he did. Pick up an extra point.
Norris might have gotten one this year. No.
No, I don't think he's gotten one this year.
Okay.
Max is
All right. I'm gonna go with Lando though. Just because I know for sure Lando got one somewhere and then maybe another one.
I'm gonna go Lando too. Like I just I don't have any remembrance of Sainz doing it.
I know Lando got the fastest lap in Monaco last year.
Yeah. He did.
Lando Norris is correct.
All right.
You guys both got it correct. So Lando has 5 fastest laps. Carlos has 3.
He's just copying me.
Oh, shut up. I knew it. All right.
So Lando's last fastest lap was in Abu Dhabi last year.
Okay.
Carlos, I think he was in France that he got his last one. If I remember. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah. So both of y'all got points from that. All right, the second one. I'm kicking it up a notch. Ayrton Senna or Nico Rosberg? That's more fastest lap.
Dang, real throwback. I mean, Rosberg retired early. Senna, of course, had the tragic race. I mean, Senna dominated, but also Rosberg was on the best team for a while. And I don't know if he kind of just... I have a question. When were points for fastest laps first? Do you know that?
He said 2019.
20
so
okay.
it's not
Yeah.
even a thing.
So
Okay, so it's
no.
new
So
now.
it's so.
They just kept it.
So the
as-
thing is, yeah, they've kept it as a stat since like 1950. So, I'm not counting like the times when it was points and stuff. It's just fastest laps throughout like all history.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go.
I'll go
with-
Senna.
I'm gonna go with Rosberg. I feel like he was. There was at least one year where he wasn't even close to Lewis. I think the middle year, and so he probably just kind of doing the Bottas thing, and then the Mercedes was kind of in the midfield, and we just saw that Norris picked up a couple in a non-winning race-winning car, and Rosberg was in that at the start of his career. So I'll go with Rosberg, I guess.
I'm going to go Senna. I mean, I feel like points have a lot to do with it, with like how Bottas would do it back when he was with Mercedes. Like they would be like, "Oh, you're clear of the car behind you. Go get us another point." So I'm going to go with Senna. I mean, he dominated.
Charlie, you got Rosberg, right?
Yeah.
And Charlie, I regret to inform you that Nico Rosberg is in fact the one with more fastest laps. So sorry, Tim. Yeah, Nico Rosberg had 20 fastest laps. Senna had 19.
Oh,
So
wow.
very close.
Y-
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah. What's up?
That was hard. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
All right,
kind of
let's keep it
guess.
going. Let's keep it going.
You ready for the third one?
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably harder, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty hard, I think. All right. So, Danny Kvyat or Lance Stroll?
The battle of mid, sort of.
Hey, don't insult Kvyat like that, bro.
Okay, he
He was
wasn't.
good.
He wasn't that bad. It's just like
All right.
He's from Russia. He's not that bad.
Stroll versus Kvyat.
so. Stroll's been in F1 for. I mean, he's been around sort of. Good bit of time. He's with Williams, Aston Martin.
I'm just gonna go with Kvyat. I don't. I can't really think. I never watched the sport when Kvyat was driving, really, so I don't really know how good he was. Stroll, I don't remember him getting one recently, so I'll go with Kvyat. He was on a better team for just a little bit.
My confidence level is extremely low in this, but I'm just going to go opposite. Go Stroll. I have a weird feeling like I'm wrong.
You are wrong, Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
Danny Kvyat has 1 fastest lap. Lance Stroll has 0.
Right.
Yeah, so Kvyat took fastest lap in Spain in 2016. So this is the race where Max won. The 2 Mercedes crashed and fell out. Yeah. So,
All right.
yeah, kind of a random thing, but yeah. All right, this last one should be the... Huh?
All right,
Go for it.
Yeah, just go ahead. Come on.
The last one should be the easiest one. So, Sam, if you want to make a comeback, this is your chance. Kimi Räikkönen or Sebastian Vettel? Sorry, did my audio cut out?
No, I heard you.
I'm going to go with Räikkönen. I feel like he's... I don't know. He was really good, but he just seemed to not really, like... I don't know. He's just a weird driver. So I'm going to go with him.
I will also go opposite. Vettel. I think Vettel. I mean, I don't know. Everyone hated him because he was so dominant for like 4 years. Go, Kenji.
So, Tim, you went 1 for 4. Charlie, you went for 4. So you're perfect.
Okay.
So, Kimi Räikkönen, he had 46 fast laps. Seb had 41.
Dang.
Yeah. Pretty close, but
all right.
Not really.
I need to compete with Kenji again. I don't think this back marker over here is not blue flag.
Hey, don't bully Tim like that.
Shut up. All right, next one.
All right, what else you got for us?
You guys want to do like the grill to grid thing, or just more plus minus thing for
grill to grid
stuff like that?
Yeah.
All right. So if any of our viewers have been, I guess, watching F1 for a long time, you probably know what grill to grid is. But in case you don't, that's okay. So it's basically a game where they like quiz the drivers on certain, I guess, trivia facts and stuff like that. And we're going to be using it in our podcast too today. So very exciting. It's kind of the same concept, except instead of F1 drivers doing it, it's 2 random dudes doing it, Tim and Charlie.
Yep.
2 randoms on the internet. Yeah, so I'm gonna ask you like F1 trivia. If you answer first, and if you answer correctly, you get the point. All right. So whoever has more points at the end of these 5 questions wins.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Sure.
All right. First one. To warm up. And in which year did Michael Schumacher win his first championship for Ferrari?
19.
And you guys have like multiple like so if you like so first Tim has 1 chance, Charlie has 1 chance, and if you guys get it wrong you can guess again.
1997. Yeah.
I know. Shoot.
For Ferrari.
1999. No, it's not.
For
Shit.
Ferrari?
Nope. Yeah, for Ferrari.
Can I go again now, or does he have to go?
2004.
No.
2002.
No, we're getting closer though.
2000.
2000, yeah. 2000 is the one.
I thought Hakkinen won that year.
So Hakkinen won 98 and 99, I think, and then Schumacher 2000 to 04, I think. That was when he was winning.
Okay.
After that was Alonso.
All right.
Yeah. So Tim, you have 1 point. So, all right. So for this next one, I'm going to read you a bio for an F1 driver. Your job is to tell me which driver it is. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Born in 1940 in Italy, I moved to the United States in 1955. had competed under the U.S. flag and won the F1 championship in 1978, becoming one of 2 American drivers to win the championship. Who am I?
Oh my gosh! Andretti, right?
Yes, Andretti. It is Andretti. Yes. He has like a karting shop here
no, I knew
in
that.
San Antonio. I've been there.
Yeah, I know that McLaren was the one, and I knew that the second one had like an Italian name.
All right. Come on. Comeback season.
All right, Charlie, you're getting kind of
Hey, don't worry.
going out here, Charlie. You better set the game up, man.
Still winning on aggregate.
You keep like
All right,
phasing out.
who is the youngest F1 race winner on record?
Max Verstappen.
Verstappen.
Yep, Tim, you got it.
Oh.
Charlie, you're too slow. Come on, Charlie.
I thought you had to finish the question.
I finished it, right?
I don't know. I just threw that out.
Maybe I glitched out. Yeah, I don't know.
No.
How old was he?
16.
17.
18.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
That doesn't count, though.
He
It's okay.
He started
That's
when he was
16.
17, right? Or no?
I think he started at 16, yeah. I'm 16 right now. I don't even have my license yet,
Yeah,
bro.
we're-
Believe that? He was
We're
racing in
different,
F1.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Next question.
Which F1 track is known as the Temple of Speed?
Monza.
Yep, Charlie, got it. This last one, so this one is kind of like a free-for-all. You just shout out names. Name as many F1 tracks in the U.S. as you can.
Circuit of the Americas, Hard Rock Stadium track,
Indy 500, Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
the Las Vegas Strip. I don't know. What
That doesn't count.
Yeah, it does.
There's no, but
I would count that.
All right.
Detroit had a track.
Dallas had a track.
Oh shoot, what's that one called in Watkins Glen? They probably had a race
the
there.
NASCAR one.
Yeah, it did.
I used to race that.
It
in
looked-
NASCAR.
Charlie, did you say Watkins Glen? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that was me.
Ooh, Charlie, you're in the lead now.
Probably Laguna Seca, maybe.
Laguna Seca. Do they have an F1 race there? I don't remember. Let me check that real quick. Sorry, continue.
I don't know. Didn't there was a race in Florida before Miami?
Wait, so
before
there's-
the recent Miami, I think. At one point, maybe.
Laguna Seca, you said, Charlie?
Yeah. Actually, I don't know.
Alright, my computer's like frozen here, as usual.
No,
I can look it up.
So there was no F1 race at Laguna Seca.
All right.
Tim, or Charlie, you got any last ones?
no, that's it. I don't know. I think I had 3.
I think there was one in Florida or in Miami, maybe in Florida before.
Long Beach? Long Beach is in California, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Riverside, Phoenix, Sebring Ring, Detroit.
I said Detroit. I said Detroit.
Yeah, he
Watkins
had
Glen.
Detroit, Watkins Glen, and then the one other one I forgot.
I had Indy 500.
He had the Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis is one.
We both said
Yeah,
Dallas.
Austin, right?
Yeah, I said circa.
He said Coda.
I said
Miami.
Coda, Miami, Las Vegas. So the 3 like current ones.
Yeah, but technically Las Vegas hasn't had a race there, which means I'd have one more, and I would win. Actually, but still.
So Charlie, you had 3?
I had Detroit, Indianapolis, and Watkins Glen.
And then I just had the 3.
And then we said Dallas
on
at the same
calendar.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who I should count that for.
I don't know. He's
Should we just ask another? Huh?
Tim won the game anyway, so it's fine.
Okay,
Right,
okay.
Well,
All right, Tim, you're the winner of our first Grill to Grid segment.
Well
Yes.
played.
Congratulations.
Charlie.
yeah, that was a fun one. I think we should definitely keep doing that segment if we run out of ideas for the other one.
Payback for the higher lower.
Yeah. All right. This has been a lengthy episode. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back to cover Silverstone. Tune into our watch party for the British Grand Prix this
Yup.
weekend. And goodbye.